Hello and welcome to the Drop a Stitch podcast.
I'm your host, Dani.
And I'm your host, Natalie.
And today we're going to be talking about crochet and knitting design process.
Yes.
So everything behind designing a pattern.
Yeah, how we do it, where we find the inspiration.
Finding the yarn, writing the pattern, and all the good stuff.
Yes. But before that, how was your week?
It was great / unproductive / relaxing, I guess, if I can say.
How?
Well, so the thing is, we went to spend the weekend at my mother-in-law with the kids. And so I was, thinking and preparing everything to come back yesterday, Sunday, and, to start the week and whatever. And then the snowstorm got us there and we were not trapped, but you know what I mean? We couldn't drive back.
It was safer to stay than to go.
Exactly. It was safer to go. I mean, it was safer to stay. And yeah, it was a nice weekend. We had fun. And at the same time, it was relaxing because I didn't have much things to work. So I was obligated to not think about that. You know what I mean?
Ain't that nice?
Yeah. So it was kind of nice. And then the rest of the week was just getting the house organized and clean and decluttering a little bit. Just that.
Yeah, typical, back to normal stuff after family leaves from visiting for an extended period of time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So yeah, it was productive during the week, and then the weekend was more relaxing. But now it's a new week and we're back to work. How was your week?
Know. It was good. I feel like I didn't get much done, but I did what I could. Yeah, it's February already. And
is it? No, wait.
It is February.
Today's the 30th.
Yes, because we're recording this on the 30th, but you guys will hear it on the 1st.
Wow.
But it's February.
Wow.
And I'm like, where'd the January go?
I know.
I feel like I had so many plans, so many things I wanted to do, including publish a pattern.
Yep.
Which I've yet to do, but I'm working hard on.
Are you, though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I could work harder on it, but I kind of am. To be fair, I'm working on, I'm writing 3 up at the same time.
Really?
Yeah.
Why are you doing that?
Because it's me. I can't just do things in a normal way.
Yeah, that's true.
But I'm like, I'll be behind for the first one, but ahead for the next 2.
Yeah, that's
how
true.
my brain works.
Yeah.
So I've been working on that. And yeah, aside from that, the week felt like it flew by, and here we are again.
The week and the month and everything. I just can't believe it's February already.
It's insane to me.
Me too.
That's okay. It's a short month. Hopefully it'll feel longer than January did, and we get a lot done.
I doubt it. I doubt that it's going to feel longer, but...
Same, but hey.
Hopefully we get more things done than January.
Yes. Hopefully the productivity level is there.
Yeah. And that's going to make it feel like, whoa, it was a good month.
Yeah.
Which is not like January wasn't. It just was
I feel like
a blur.
I came back from vacation a week into January already. And then you're in the post-vacation, post-Christmas haze of where am I? What day is it? What are we doing?
I know.
And then by the time you get back into the swing of things, it's you blink and it's February.
I know.
And here we are.
I know. It's crazy. I can't believe how fast the time is going. I see it in my baby too. She's almost 7 months. I'm like, what? I just feel like I brought her home yesterday.
Isn't she 7 months?
Almost. Now in February, the 7th.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. 7 months. What?
No, she's going to be 8 months. Isn't she?
No.
She was born in July.
Yeah.
So August, September, October, November, December, January, February. You're right. She'll be 7.
Yeah. So,
I don't know how to count.
You made me doubt for 1 second.
Can you imagine?
I don't know my daughter's age.
I can just picture your mind being like, wait, I take monthly pictures. When did I screw up?
I know. Oh my God. I'm like, did I miss one whenever my family was here? Was I that busy?
No. You're right.
Oh,
I just don't know how to
girl.
count, apparently.
I had a like mini panic attack. Paper bag right now.
Paper bag.
Like, whoa. Okay, but let's get into today's episode. And we're gonna, like we said at the beginning, be talking about the design process. And this is for anybody that wants to start designing. Maybe you guys have ideas and you're considering writing your own patterns, and
Or you would like to know where to start.
you would like to know where to start. This is by no means, we're not experts in this.
I mean, I feel like you're kind of an expert, but okay.
I would say that you are more than me.
Sorry, how many patterns have you published versus how many patterns have I published? Oh, yeah, that's
Okay.
right. One.
Okay, but listen. You are more... Okay, well, we're going to get into the details later, but you are the techie one. Like, you're...
Yes, okay.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm the...
You're the designy one. I'm the
design,
techie one.
and you're the one of, like, let's make this pattern look like a decent pattern.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. Okay.
But here's what we should do. This week should be how we go about designing it, and the next week should be what makes up a good pattern.
Oh,
and
yeah,
all
that's
the
a
parts.
good idea.
Let's do that.
Let's do that. Okay. So, first, the inspiration. Where do we get inspiration? And I feel like it would be better, not better, but it would be good for a future episode to talk about inspiration and what's inspiration and what's
Copying.
I'm getting like extremely too much inspiration from someone.
Yes.
We should do that
We should do that.
Okay, we'll do next week the second part of the one we're doing
what's
now.
included in a good pattern.
Uh-huh.
And then the week after that, we'll do when is it not inspiration and it's copying.
It's copy. Yeah, great. Okay, so let's begin with inspiration. Where do we get the inspiration? Where do you get your inspiration?
It depends. Sometimes a random idea pops into my mind. Sometimes inspiration and like yarn is kind of like the chicken and the egg, like which comes first. Sometimes I see a yarn and I'm like, ooh, this is pretty. I like these colors. I could make this with it. And then that's where like the idea sparks. I think most times I'll come across something that is not knit on like Pinterest or social media somehow, and I'm like, ooh, I could make something like this knit.
Yeah.
Like a texture or like some sort of, mainly it's texture, but like sometimes a cut of a shirt or like or something like that. And then I'll be like, ooh, I could do this could translate into knitting if I did like this. And then the other time, like the other place that I find a lot of inspiration sometimes is watching shows.
Really?
Like show decor and like what they wear and stuff. I'm like,
yeah.
ooh, like the amount of like screenshots I have of like, oh, like this is good. Like I could do something like this. Like,
Yeah.
obviously I've done nothing with all of these ideas, but
they're there.
we're working on changing that this
Yeah.
year. But yeah, that's kind of mostly where I find my inspiration.
Nice.
Where's yours?
I think that for myself, I have ideas depending on what I need, if that makes any sense.
Yep.
For example, is market season coming? I know I need to make hats. So I'm going to try to have some hat patterns that I can also make for my markets. You know? So it kind of goes in hands of what I need. Or if I'm making, for example, for Christmas, I gifted my mother-in-law a blanket. So I needed to make that blanket because I wanted to give it to her. She wanted one. She said, you know, she liked the previous one that I made, so I wanted to give her one. So I'm like, you know what? Why don't I make a pattern, a different blanket, a different pattern that I
For
can
her.
use, you know, for my videos and for the pattern, and it's also for her.
Yeah.
So it
Finding like double duties
Exactly.
of like between what's going on in your
yeah.
life, what you need to make.
Exactly.
And I feel like another way you find inspiration that I've seen you do is like, oh, like because you have such an audience and like followers, like a big following, like people will be like, oh, like what should I do if I like just started or whatever, and then like you look through your patterns and you're like, ooh, there's a gap here, I should do something to fill that gap. So you have that advantage too, because you have so many people that follow you.
That, and I think that's a big one for me, the doing things that I need, because for example, I have so many people saying like, oh, can you do, I don't know, like something for my dog or my cat, and I'm like, but I don't have a dog, I don't have a cat, I can't do that. I can
lend you my cat if you want to make it something.
Dog's here posing for a picture.
Good luck.
Even if I wanted to, because I don't have animals, you know, so I can't help with that. It was the same thing before having my kids.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's the equivalent of me making baby hats when I have no idea. I don't have a baby.
Before, I never ever did anything baby related, not even hats. All my even my patterns were just adults. And after having my kids, now I've been including all the hats for all the sizes and making, okay, maybe I'm not making a ton of like, I don't know, sweaters and things like that, but I'm making more blankets, and I'm including other things that before I didn't in my patterns. So, sorry, that's the very first one. It's what I need in the moment. And also Pinterest it's huge. Also Instagram, but I try to use my personal Instagram.
Yes.
No, not Dani's Ways or CJ's Design, because I know if I go to my search page, I'm just gonna
it's gonna be knitted and crochet
related, and I don't want to get inspiration for something that's already there.
Yeah.
So I try to go on my personal Instagram, and same as you, just see what people are wearing, what they're using.
It's often, I find, like non-knitting, like knitting, I'll be like, ooh, that's nice, I could make that, but it's not like, it doesn't, like, it sparks an idea, but at that point I'm like, it's too close, I've seen it knit and crochet. So I try to find most ideas like in like normal clothing that is not knit or crochet, or like home decor accessories or whatever the case may be. And then like the texture, the style, the look, the colors, like that can be enough to spark an idea. It doesn't have to be, oh, I like this knitted hat, I'm going to make one exactly the same, you know?
Yeah. Sometimes I also have just a random idea in my head. Sometimes I know that the idea is crazy enough that I know probably nobody has it. Just like a combination of stitches, like what are the odds that somebody already has that exact same combination? And the other one, whenever I get those kind of inspiration, you know, those ideas in my head, I instantly go to Pinterest or Instagram and try to find if somebody already did it. And when it's not there, I'm like, okay, I'm good to go. But that, I think Pinterest it's a huge one too. I try to scroll and see trends, see what people are wearing.
That, and even like, I would say influencers. Like on my personal Instagram, I follow like a few influencers, and like even like
they influence you.
Yeah, not really. They're all from the States, and I don't have access to most of the stuff, but sometimes what they wear or like certain things, and I'm like, ooh, this could translate like to knitting or crochet, and that works.
And same with the yarn too, same as you. Not that much. I don't find that I see a yarn and I'm like, ooh, this would be perfect for, you know, X, Y, and Z pattern. But
no, it's not so much like that. So what happens is I'm at the yarn store and I'm like, ooh, I want to buy this yarn. And then my self-doubt is like, you have a yarn stash. You have too much yarn. Find a way, find something to make with it, and you can take it home with you.
And you would always find.
On the spot, I have to come up with an idea. And I'm like, ooh, okay. And I'll generally be like, either my boyfriend will be with me, or I'll have a friend, or I will text you and be like, hey, what about this? What do you think of this? And then if I get validation that it's a good idea, I'm like, okay, I can buy the yarn.
No, but like whenever I got the yarn from Malabrigo the other day, the cotton, I wanted to get the yarn for a summer shawl or something like flowy, or maybe for my baby to make her a sweater or something like that. So then I thought about the yarn first. I'm like, okay, these yarn is pretty enough, it's, you know, colorful, I love it, it would be perfect for summer projects.
Yeah.
Without having a precise
something
in mind. Yeah. But yeah, it's, for me, the biggest one is what I need in that moment.
Yeah.
If I need to make something for someone, or if I need to
fill a gap in what you're offering, or make something for markets.
And also to the season, you know, that also you're not gonna be making summer stuff in the winter.
But I think that honestly, like, and might be a controversial opinion, but I feel like that translates to your patterns. Like, I feel like some designers design out of kind of their own needs and what they want to make, and it looks great, and you can tell there's been thought put into it. And then some other designers that maybe used to do that and now are working with bigger companies or have like pressure to push out so many patterns every month or week.
Yeah.
You can kind of see the quality of the pattern, or not the pattern, because I mean, I haven't bought every pattern, so I can't speak to the pattern itself, but like the quality of the finished product doesn't look as much. And I don't know if it's just because maybe they don't like it as much because they had to rush through it, and so it kind of shows in the pictures, whereas something that they've made with passion, like you can tell how much they love it in their pictures, or just, but there's something, like I feel like there's certain designers that I used to love, and now I look at their stuff and I'm like, it looks like it's forced.
Yeah.
And there's other designers where you can tell that they just make it for fun, and you can tell, like, it's great.
Yeah,
you know?
like some people that just design hats all year round. And it's like, you're making hats in the summer, but that's what they love, that's what they like, and it's still doing good, you know, because it's...
Yeah, a pattern stays. So even if they publish it in the summer, you can make it when you're ready for market prep in the summer, or you can wait till the fall and when you need it and buy it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's it. Like, it goes back to what you were saying, like, make what you need.
Yeah.
It shows too, I think, the level, especially if you're making it like for you to wear and to use every day, like you're going to put a lot more thought and like passion, if you will, into it than if you're just making it to send it off somewhere, you know?
Yeah. I remember last summer I designed the little mug rags.
Yes.
Because I needed ones to put on my nice coffee side tables.
Yeah.
And I find myself using them every single day. Like every single day. There's not a day that I don't use them. I have one on my side table, one, you know, on Kel's side table, one downstairs.
Yeah.
I have one everywhere, and I use them all the time. Like that's whenever, like, same as you were saying, whenever you're making something for yourself or something that you really need, it shows how much you put into it, how much, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I feel like just even like the execution, because like your mug rug, for instance, if you'd made it and the next day you're like, ugh, you know what, this is too big, or this is not the proper shape, or this is not working, you would have fixed it and then published it, you know? So like, I feel like that shows too, like generally people that make to use, it's kind of a better result because it works for them, obviously.
Exactly. The next thing is finding the yarn.
Yes, that could be the hard part or the easy part, depending. I mean, I've done like the blanket that I'm working on, and which is one of the patterns I want to publish this year. I found the yarn. In order for me to leave the yarn store with the yarn, I'm like, I had to find an idea. And then I quickly came up with this idea, and I was like, okay, perfect, I love it. So then I just bought the yarn. But then again, I didn't know the quantity, so I just bought some, and I was like, figure it out later. But if I have an idea for something, the first thing that I'll ask myself is, what yarn weight do I want to use?
Yeah.
Do I want it to be like bulky, quick, and easy? Do I want it to be like laced and super detailed? Hint, never. And then you go to the yarn store in the proper section and you're like, okay, what are the options? You know? And then the same as, do you want it to be luxury? Like, do you want to use some like beautifully like soft Malabrigo yarn?
Yeah.
Or do you want to use, you know, the cheapest quality yarn? So, or not necessarily the cheapest, but like the most affordable and easily accessible yarn so that anyone can use it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I think it's the same. My opinions are the same. I always think about the pattern, and then instantly I go, okay, what yarn I'm gonna use? Same as you, I want to make it quicker, or do I want to make it,
what season is it for?
Exactly, what season is it for? And then I also see, okay, am I gonna use it? It's somebody that I know gonna use it, because if so, I want it to be a nice quality. You don't want, that's the thing with me, is that I don't want to have knitting and crochet things just hanging around my house just because.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm gonna have them here, I want them to be nice. And if I'm making blanket for my kids, because you know they use them all the time, I also want them to be nice. And the other main point is because I have, you know, my YouTube channel and I make these patterns, I want to use yarn that everybody can use it, aka Canada and the States, poor people in Europe or South America or other parts in the world that they don't get, you know, all these brands.
At least a general, like, North America.
Yeah, unfortunately. I'm so sorry if you guys are from there. I get it, because I'm from Chile, and all this beautiful yarn that we can find here, it's just impossible to get there.
Yeah. But then you do the opposite, and you bring yarn from Chile, and you use those.
Yeah.
So that's nice, too.
But I usually would go with yarn that it's easy for everybody to find, because I have so many followers. So many people would be asking me what yarn I can use it. I can find that. And the other thing is that if I want to, which it rarely happens, but if I want to use a yarn that it's very specific, that I don't know, it's hand dyed or whatever, it's just a very unique yarn, I will always give alternatives.
Yes.
For people.
Yeah. I feel like that's a key to having a successful pattern. And like that's one of the things I did with one of the patterns that I'm working on. Like I'm using fancy Malabrigo yarn, but I know that not everybody can use that or buy it or afford it. So I worked it up in an alternative yarn that the result looks similar. And I mean, of course, it's not the buttery softness of Malabrigo.
Of course.
But I mean, it works and you could make it and like...
It still looks nice.
It still looks nice, and it's a great like budget alternative for anyone who can't afford or get Malabrigo.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the same thing. So I feel like if you have nice alternatives, then it makes it easier for you to work with a yarn that you know that probably nobody can get, or not nobody, but you know, less people, if you have alternatives. But that's something that you have to know beforehand. You can't just write the pattern, use the yarn and everything, make this beautiful, and then be like, oh shit, I guess nobody's gonna be able to find this yarn. I bought it in whatever country. Yeah. You know?
Or even like discontinued yarn.
Or discontinued yarn.
Yeah, I think finding alternatives is always, and I love patterns that are like, I'm like, oh my God, this is so nice. And then they give you a few different options of yarn that they've tested it and it works with. And you're like, okay, this is great. Like,
yeah, you have
there's
options.
a like nice, super like fancy, like hard to find yarn. And then there's like all the budget options that it also works. So that's fun.
Yeah, I like that too. Whenever I see patterns that are like that, I don't often do it with my patterns, like I said, because I use yarn that it's very accessible, easy to get, so I don't have the need to do that. But if I think there was one pattern that I did, the shawl, you remember the one that we took pictures last year in the pond? So that yarn, I bought it in Chile. So I wanted to use it because it's so nice. It is very nice. So beautiful. So I wanted to use it, and I needed to find an alternative yarn in here, and it worked out perfectly. I found, you know, many options. So that was great. But that's always something to consider whenever you are working on a pattern, is that make sure that because your pattern is not just for you, it's for people to make, you need the people to be able to find the same yarn that you're using or similar. Because
let's be real, if you change the yarn from the pattern, it's never going to be 100% the same.
No,
the drape will not be 100% the same. The softness, the everything is not going to be 100%. Unless you can match like perfectly, everything. Which is very, very rare. But yeah, giving options is always great. So at least you know the gauge works, and at least you know it's going to look good in this yarn.
And the other thing for me too is the colors.
Yes.
Because we know that there are different brands. There are a few big main brands that carry different types of yarn. Those are like the babies of the main brand. And if they don't have nice colors, you guys know I'm all about warm, neutral tones.
Yep.
That's my vibe. Like give me all the mustards, give me all the browns and blacks and cream. I like color, but I think that it looks, I don't know. I just like...
You like neutrals better.
Neutral, warm.
Yeah.
And if I'm looking at a yarn, a brand, a type of yarn that doesn't have the colors that I like, that's a hard no for me.
Yeah.
The yarn can be super pretty, can be super soft, can be affordable, can be, whatever you want. But if it doesn't have the colors that I like, then that's a no for me.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's also because, it goes in hand with what I was saying. I like to use the things that I make.
Yeah.
I don't like to have the things.
You don't make just to make, you make for yourself.
Exactly.
So you want it to fit with the color scheme of your house and what colors you normally wear.
Exactly. The table runner that I made last summer too, which, spoiler alert, I want to make another one for this year, for this summer, because I love it. I use it all the time in my little coffee table. Yeah. I think it looks pretty.
It's always there.
It looks nice. I just really like it. If it wasn't for my son, that he's just taking it all the time and just doing whatever with it, I use it most of the time. I remember last year whenever he grabbed it and he was using it as a scarf. I'm like, okay, that would work too.
That's another option. Tell the scarf.
But yeah, I feel like, as a designer, you will also find what works for you, what yarn you like best. Because some people, like, I really like Woolies Thick and Quick by Lion Brand, but this girl right here,
I hate it.
Hates it. So
hate it.
You will find...
I will work with it for certain things, but like, I do not like it.
See, so you will find what works for you as a designer. You will find the yarn that you like best, that works for you, that, we are all different, and that's the beauty of creating. Okay, what's our next point?
Writing up the pattern.
Ooh, writing up the pattern.
How do you go about it?
How do you start? I think this is the biggest one.
Okay, we're very opposite on this front.
Why?
You just start knitting.
Yes.
Sometimes takes notes, sometimes doesn't. You'll just kind of count back what you did.
That's true.
Whereas I'm like, okay, I want to make a hat. I want it to look like this. I want it to have a folded brim. Perfect. Adult head size is this. Let me do a swatch. Okay, I need to cast on this many. If I do this many rows, it should bring me where I want. Calculate everything. I pretty much write up my pattern.
Oh, heck no.
And then I test it. And most of the time, I don't really have to modify anything. I mean, on the simpler patterns, to be continued if I ever start designing like sweaters and stuff. But so far, so good.
Yeah.
You just start knitting.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes take notes.
I'm the total opposite. It's just so funny that you just said that because one of the things that I brought to my mother-in-law's this weekend was, my bag with yarn, a few things that I wanted to make. Nothing specific that I wanted to make. I just brought yarn to do a few things. And I had a pattern for a hat in mind, like a combination of stitches that I'm like, okay, these will look super, super good. And I just got my iPad and it's so funny because I didn't even wrote the pattern or anything. I just wrote knit, purl, purl, knit, just to make sure that it would
that it worked out to the design you wanted.
And the number of stitches that I wanted based on the number of the pattern.
Yeah.
What's it
called?
Cast on. Yes, but the
repeat in the pattern.
Repeat, yes. Exactly. So based on that, I just did that and then I just had it in my mind and I started knitting.
Yeah.
And I finished the hat.
Yeah.
And it's still in my mind.
But you didn't take any notes.
They're in my head.
And then in 2 weeks when you're like, I'm going to write down this pattern, you'll be like, Nat, shit, I forgot.
What needle size was I using?
Oh, yeah. And this is the other thing. This is the greatest tip. please, whenever you're designing anything,
Take a picture.
take a picture of your work in progress. Because the amount of times that I've zoomed in on Dani's pictures to try to figure out what size of hook or needle she was using. Yep. And then we guesstimate and we're like, I'm pretty sure it's 8mm. Try it.
It was so funny because I was like, wait, I was using the Clover crochet hooks. I'm pretty sure it was a green one. But then my pictures have filters. And I was like, was it the green one or was it the blue one? And I just couldn't tell which one it was. I'm like, it was so frustrating. But that's why I created a template that I just did. It's probably not going to be, or maybe it will. I don't know. Maybe it's not going to be published yet when we...
by the time the episode comes out?
Yeah, by the time the episode comes out. But it's going to be this week for sure. I created a template to write patterns to help you...
to write notes while you're...
Yes, to write the notes and to write the important details to remember in that pattern.
Such as your hook or needle size.
Such as your yarn, what yarn you're using, things like that. And then I think it's a pretty handy tool to have whenever you are writing a pattern, writing your notes. But yeah, that's how I go. I start making something. I make swatches, and then in my head, I try to see what works and what not. I remember for my last blanket, for one blanket, I can't remember which one it was. It's crazy, but I started doing the crochet pattern in my computer before I started crocheting.
Ooh, okay.
So I was trying to calculate the stitches to make sure it fit in that crochet chart. And then I was like, okay, this works. I think it would be good to make the blanket. And then I started doing the swatch.
Okay.
And that's a great way, because often, especially in crochet, I try to make something work and I'm like, but I have one stitch left. I have one stitch, whatever. It's not working. But if I have it there, because I'm so visual, if I have it there, I can just put and modify and make it perfect right away. Yeah. So that's one way to do it. By the way, I'm
curious to see if you're going to use your own template or not.
Okay, so here's the thing. I really, really needed that because my notebook, like the notes that I have, they're a mess. Like it's a complete mess. I'm trying to find something, a pattern that I wanted to write, the ideas, and it's just a disaster. Like I sometimes I can understand what I'm reading, and sometimes I cannot. So I mainly did it for myself, and then I was like, ooh, I could sell this. So that's why I sent it to you. I'm like, tell me if this is sellable, because is that even a word? Sellable?
Yes, I think so.
Maybe. I'm like, okay, tell me if I can sell this, because I really like it. It's nice. I made it, super my style, my vibe. It's cute.
Makes you want to use it.
Yeah. And I printed it, and it prints really, really nice. I got at the dollar store one of these A4 folders, to put them in. Super nice. But I was thinking how cool it would be if I also had a notebook already printed, like ready for you in a notebook format.
Yes, that would be nice.
That has the template inside.
Yeah.
So then you don't have to print. I mean, if you want to, you could, obviously. That's why it's going to be there for you. So I started putting it on KDP, which is the Amazon
book template thing.
Yes, it's basically print on demand. So I will upload my thing there, and then people can buy it. But the only problem for us is that I don't think it's available in Canada. I think it's only in the States.
Well, that's annoying.
Yes, but I was thinking, if I do it and it's nice enough, I can just order a bunch.
Yeah, and then resell them.
And then resell them for the same price, obviously, here on my website.
Yeah.
Which is obviously it's annoying, because when you have Amazon Prime, you pay for the thing, order the thing, and free shipping and everything. These wouldn't be free shipping, but it's so nice that I feel like, and I haven't seen anything like it, so I feel like it would be very, very nice.
That would be a good idea.
Yeah,
for sure.
Because it's a great way to keep on track and to know what you're doing. And
that's the most important thing. Let's be honest. If you're writing
Yeah.
a pattern, you need to write down what you're doing.
Everything.
Even if you think, I'm going to remember, you're not.
Yeah.
You will not remember every little step, especially not if you start and then you have to rip out and start again and then rip out. And you are not. You're going to get confused. You're not going to know what you did. And then guess what? You're going to have to do it again to confirm that, okay, this is what I thought. No, this is not. Okay.
Or even if you put your project down for 1 week.
Yeah.
Or for a few days. Yeah. That's enough time for you to forget details.
Especially if it's like a quicker project.
Yeah.
You don't have to, you need to write it down.
Yeah, everything, every little thing. So whenever you're first starting, now to get back on track, whenever you're first starting, don't worry about, what should I write? Just write everything.
Yes, and then scratch it off, and then like you'll be able to see what you did, where you went wrong, where you got it. Like that's part of the process important while you're doing it, especially if you, like you said, you put it down and then pick it back up. You need to know the mistakes you've already made, like so that you can continue in the proper way. And just anything, like the things that you don't think will be. And I think that this is where the template comes very handy, because if you have never written a pattern, you don't know what you need to pay attention to.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like, oh, okay, perfect. But if you have the template, you're like, before you even start, it's like, okay, here's my yarn weight, here's like, so you fill in all the information, and then you have like the basics that you always forget to write down, because let's be honest, we all forget that part. And then you have the space to write your notes for your pattern, and then you should be good to go.
Yeah. And then I feel like the next step would be to, well, as a newbie doing this, look for the abbreviations for either knitting or crochet, so then you know how to properly write your pattern.
Yep.
And the abbreviations, if you want to use the abbreviations. If you don't want to, you can write the whole word, but which, at the beginning I thought that was like mandatory. If I write the whole word or the whole stitch, it's not good. But it's not like that. It just saves time, saves paper.
Yeah.
And also,
it becomes a language that we all understand too. We all know that K is knit. No one needs to like double check that. We all know that P is purl. We all know that, HDC is half double crochet.
Yeah.
Like we know, once you've done a few patterns, like once you've read a few patterns and done a few projects, you know these. And like if you're starting out, it can be confusing, and it can be like, I need to like figure out each word and understand it. But if you're not starting out, like you don't even, like most times, unless there's a new stitch that I don't know, or something special like a bobble, and you need to figure out how they do their bobble, I don't look at the abbreviations. Like, know them. It becomes a language. Like, and if you show a knitting or crochet pattern to someone who doesn't knit and crochet, they'll be like, what is that? Whereas, like, like CO36STS, and it's like, what is that? Cast on 36 stitches. It's super easy, So,
so I think that's the next thing that you need to know, it's to look all the abbreviations that you need to. And the other thing that I always tell people that are asking me how to write the pattern is that once you think your pattern is okay, and we're not getting into grading for sizes and stuff like that yet, but when let's say you're making a scarf, and it's super simple, it doesn't have multiple sizes, it's only one, and you want to write it down. You write your pattern down, you have all the information that, the template has there for you to fill out. You also have all the abbreviations and everything that you need to have in your pattern. If you read it and you can understand it, then you're probably in the right direction.
Yes.
But if you read it and you're like, what? Like, what am I trying to say? Like, what is happening? Then you're not.
Yeah.
And that is when testing comes in handy.
Yes, because we get to a point too where, because you've done it, you've created it, you kind of know it a little bit by heart.
Yeah.
So you read the pattern, but you kind of already know what it's supposed to look like. So you don't so much pay attention to it.
Yeah.
And then you think it says what it should say. But then and like typos happen and whatever. So if you send it to testing, people that have never made it with completely fresh eyes are looking at it and they're like, what does that mean? And then you're like, oh, I can't believe I didn't notice that.
Yeah. I usually don't test my patterns. I know I probably should, but I am extremely impatient. Like
Yeah, but you don't get your pattern tested as in someone else knitting them, but you usually get another set of eyes on them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I usually send them to you.
Yes. Which is good enough in the sense that if I can make, like, even though I haven't knitted it, to confirm that what you're writing actually gives out the result that you say it will, I can read through the pattern. I can be like, this makes sense, this adds up, okay, the stitch count there, you've increased, perfect, this works. Like, so you can kind of read through a pattern, and this is kind of getting into tech editing, which I don't do tech editing, but sort of.
You kind of
like, if I can make sense of it and I understand it and it works, then typically it would.
Okay.
But you also don't test net because most of your patterns are offered for free.
Yeah.
So if there was to be mistakes, like, people would be able to comment and let you know. And that's a lot less frustrating than if you're, spending $10 for a pattern and it makes no sense.
Yeah. That's what I usually do. That's what I have in consideration every time that I publish a pattern, is that I try my best. I know it's probably good and it's free. So I have had a couple of times where people are like, oh, this number or whatever. I'm like, oh, shoot, I'm gonna, fix it really quick, and then that's it.
Yeah.
But if I were to, like you said, sell my pattern for $10-$15, I want it to be perfect. It's gotta be perfect.
And because when it's free too, it's
acceptable
on it's accessible on a blog post or something, so you can change it, and everybody else that clicks on it will see the proper change.
Yeah.
Whereas if you sell a pattern, you then have to email everyone who's ever bought it to tell them, like, hey, there was a change. That's a lot more complicated. So if that's the route you're going, like, you definitely want to get it, like, either tech edited and or pattern tested, so that you can confirm that people from a different range of skills can make it and have the proper end result.
Okay, what is a tech editor?
A tech editor is someone who is typically has a certification of some kind, to read pattern, understand pattern, often grade pattern as well. And they can, without knitting the item, they will literally go through your pattern, fix small things like grammar, typos, everything like that, but then also read through your pattern and make sure it's doable, make sure the increases are done properly, make sure they can basically, it's as if you visualize the pattern being knitted. Like, you can see what it's going to look like. You're like, okay, if I add 2 stitches here, my stitch count is now this, okay, perfect. And you just basically double check all the math, all the wording, everything, and then you confirm that, the pattern, like, the recipe basically works.
Yeah. And what's grading a pattern?
Grading a pattern is when, for instance, you make a cardigan for your size, which, I don't know, what size are you? Adult? Small?
Well, right now, I don't know, probably medium, medium large.
let's say adult medium, but then you want to publish a pattern, and so you need to have an adult large, an extra large, a double XL, a small, an extra small, and then maybe even kid sizes. So to translate your pattern in all these different sizes, that's called grading, is where you will modify the pattern to add or remove stitches to make it fit various sizes.
Yes, because this is something that you need to know, is that you can make your pattern in any size that you want, and then based on that pattern, you can grade it to have any size that you want. And this is something that I didn't know at the beginning, and whenever I was this wasn't that long ago. This was probably like 2-3 years ago. I was making the Andes beanie, and I was crocheting every single size because I wanted to make all the sizes. And then I figured out, I can do math to I think you told me.
to calculate everything.
You can do math, do this, do that, and you can get all the sizes. And I was like, oh, I just feel really stupid right now.
But if you don't know, you don't know. And there's things like, hats are easier. It's a width and a length. Scarves are easier. It's a width and a length.
Yeah.
And then there's things much harder, like a sweater pattern that has, cabling or lace or multiple, like, various stitch repeats in between, like, on the sleeves and in the front or in the back. And for those, it's a lot more complicated to create.
Yeah.
It's not just like, let me do some mat, perfect, it's done, because you have to adapt your sizes. You have to adapt where you increase and decrease so that it works with the row repeat. Like, it can get very, 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 very complicated real quick.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And once you have your pattern written, if you need testing, you can test. If that's gonna make you feel more comfortable about your pattern, you can test. Testing is also great to put your work out there too, for other people to see it.
You talk about it, you share it, you ask people that like it to want to do it. You have people apply, you select people. These people will post about it on there. So it kind of creates
you ask.
Yeah.
You ask for that. You ask for at least one post and also have a public account.
Yeah. So it kind of creates a network of people that are like ambassadors of your pattern, that are working it, that are, telling other people about it. So it's a really nice way to
maybe taking pictures of their whips.
Yes. And or their finished items. And yeah, it's a great way. And it's pattern testing is also a really great way to get like feedback, and to get feedback from different skills, but also to see how it would look in a bunch of different yarns, because I've been in pattern tester groups from all over the world.
Yeah.
So like we don't have access to the same yarn, so everyone buys yarn different, and you can be like, ooh, this is super nice. I don't like this one so much.
Yeah.
Like whether it's the color or whether it's the yarn, like sometimes you can see like someone's drape is deliciously like perfect and someone else's drape is like super stiff because the yarn choice
is different.
So it's really like pattern testing is great for that. And it also allows other people, like especially for like sweaters and stuff, when I will, and I think we've mentioned this before, but if I'm making something new, I will look through other pictures of that project to see how other people have made it, because the designer can make it look great in their picture. If other people, like, it looks shitty in other people's pictures, and not just from like their yarn choice or their execution, but just you can see consistently that like it doesn't fit people's body properly or whatever, and you gotta know maybe that's not the pattern you want to make. So having pattern testers can be a great way to promote that, and then to give people something to click and look and see and be like, okay, yeah, I like this, like look at how many people have made it, it's great, let me do this.
I think it's great. And even if you don't have that many followers, you can people might not apply for your pattern if you don't have that many followers.
But there's Facebook groups.
And also you can ask.
Yeah, you can ask people. I've had someone ask me, hey, would you like to test my next pattern and stuff?
Yeah, I do that to you all the time.
Well, yeah, but you're my friend. But I mean someone I don't know.
Yeah, you can also ask, and you probably, I don't know if.
And pattern testing doesn't have to be strangers either. Like, if you know people that knit and crochet, you can just ask them, like, hey, can you whip up one of these beanies and tell me if it works?
Yeah, and that would be great, because those are usually people that don't know much about it. And if they can make it, then your pattern is probably good.
Yeah. And it doesn't have, like, you don't have to have 20 testers either. If you're making a hat, like, 1 or 2 per size is good enough,
Yeah.
But yeah.
And what else? I think that's it with the writing the pattern. And like Natalie said, if you can get testers, perfect. And once you have that, then publish it. Etsy, Ravelry, or your own website if you have, but Etsy and Ravelry are more than enough. They're the two main ones, because they bring traffic on their own, so
it's great.
Those are the two
and
main
next
places.
week we'll talk about everything that you need to include in your pattern.
So you can get, all the details perfect, so then you can write your own patterns. And I will also link the template link in the description when that's available. Like I said, I don't know if it's going to be right today, Wednesday, or sometime this week.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It was so fun.
Yes.
I love talking about, patterns, inspirations, colors.
Yes.
But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Remember that if you're listening on Spotify and or Google or Apple Podcast, please leave 5 stars because that helps us a lot.
Yes. And have a great week.
Have a great week.
We'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.